How did you attract or address your audience? Firstly, in order to see what the audience like, we conducted a survey through SurveyMonkey, asking certain questions that are linked to our film opening ideas. We asked the audience about their favourite film genre through the survey, and in response we discovered that action and comedy are the most preferred. From this information, the group and I decided to stick to our initial idea of creating a comedy drama based opening, as a lot of the other openings are action based. We intended on keeping our genre different compared to the others, as more people would be attracted to watching something unique rather than a common opening. As our main age range is 13 to 19-year-olds, teenagers, a larger scale of the audience would be addressed, as it is an opening set in school. Therefore, the audience can either relate or get a new perspective on what other schools could possibly be like. Another way in how we addressed the audience was by turning a typical American storyline into a British one, as the opening is set in Britain and mainly presented to a British audience. Changing the American clique names to a British one was another way of addressing the audience. Our audience was attracted by the use of social media. As the group and I were filming, we posted various behind-the-scenes footage on Snapchat, showing us dressed up in our costume. By doing this, more people became aware about our opening and started to get curious about the storyline and wanted to find out more on what we were doing. Instagram was another way we used to promote and attract a larger audience to our opening. I posted a screenshot of our opening on Instagram and put the link in the caption and as my bio so that people can check out the opening and access it easily whenever they want to. Looking back at your preliminary task, what do you feel you've learned in the progress from it to the final product? One of the first things we have learned is to add various shots, angles and camera movements rather than using the same ones in every scene, as this can look very boring and shows a lack of skill due to repetition. As we can see in the preliminary task, we only have 2 shots, match and action and reverse shot, both of which have been used to present a conversation between the 2 main characters. However, by the time it got to our final product, we added various shots, angles and camera movements to represent each of the different characters. Using these different angles, shots and camera movements made our opening look more professional and more structured, as we had to think about what would suit each character. Another thing we've learned in the progress is the importance of lighting and how it can affect the final outcome. To make something look professional, it is very important to have suitable lighting in each scene, which allows the audience to focus on the main subject. As we can see, the lighting in the preliminary task hasn't been thought about, as it starts off very dark and slowly gets lighter. This distracts the audience from the main subject and does not look very interesting to watch. On the other hand, when watching our final opening, we can see that lighting is something we've thought about. In the first scene of the Rebel and the Nerd, the lighting is bright enough to show what's going on and has been filmed at a certain time to get the early morning look. In the second punk scene, we can see that lighting has gotten a lot brighter due to the sunlight to match the later on time. From looking at those 2 scenes, it is clear that lighting is something that has been well planned in order to get the perfect shots, compared to the preliminary task where lighting wasn't a factor that was taken into consideration. In the preliminary task, we started off with 3 rules that were shot, reverse shot, match and action, and the 180-degree rule. Firstly, shot, reverse shot is a technique where cuts are made between characters based on their conversation. As there was no conversation in our opening, we built on this technique and used it to represent the characters as the narration spoke. Secondly, match and action is an editing technique which allows the scene to flow and look like one long shot. When we filmed our classroom scene, we made sure we had a master shot to allow all of our cuts to flow nicely and professionally. Also, the editing was a massive part of our continuity in our film opening. Finally, the 180-degree rule is when we can film with 180 degrees of the original position. In our film opening, we incorporated this rule and added in angles to not make it look boring.